2 weeks after the OnePulse Foundation announced it was dissolving, News 6 is working to find out what that decision could mean for donors.
The organization spent 7.5 years working to create a memorial honoring the 49 lives lost in the Pulse nightclub shooting. They never broke ground on the project. News 6 investigator Eric Sandoval is working to get results.
Since the OnePulse Foundation announced it's dissolving, we've been getting a lot of questions from the community, and you can leave yours by scanning the QR code at the corner of your screen. A lot of these questions are asking what is going to happen to the millions of dollars raised by this foundation? Are donors going to get refunds? Well, we brought those questions to a charity watchdog, and we found out something like this has happened before.
To see this money essentially wasted and these promises not fulfilled, it's a real tragedy.
Lori Styron is the CEO of Charity Watch, and we spoke to her about OnePulse's decision to dissolve from her office based in Chicago. So for the average resident who may have, written a $20 check or even a $100 check for that matter, for a memorial and museum to be built, they may not see that refunded.
When it comes to small individual donations, generally speaking, people are out of luck.
The reason, Styron says OnePulse's tax returns show the majority of their assets were land, building, and equipment, not cash. And when a nonprofit organization dissolves, it needs to keep spending the cash it has on staff, accounting, and legal services until everything is settled and they officially shut their doors for good. She says that could take many months.
So I've been doing watchdog work for about 20 years now, and unfortunately, this is not a rare occurrence.
Styron points to Washington, D.C. That is where the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund had planned to build a $130 million education center.
This is a letter from somebody who was engaged to somebody who went to Vietnam, and he passed away.
To showcase some of the items that were left by loved ones at the Vietnam Memorial. That organization raised $45 million for the project and then canceled it, blaming rising costs. They refunded about $200,000 of that, but only to donors they had legal agreements or contracts with. Styron says OnePulse could have similar agreements.
They have to be used for what the charity's saying they'll be used for. And if they're not, there's typically a contract in place that requires the charity to refund those donations or that otherwise outlines what happens if the charity fails to fulfill its promises.
Okay, so we checked with the Florida Department of State, and according to them, they have not received any documentation from the OnePulse Foundation yet. So I checked with OnePulse, and they tell me just last week they hired an attorney to help them through this dissolution process to make sure that they're complying with the state law. They said answers to all of our questions, those are including your questions regarding refunds and money left over, will be answered during that process.
My goodness. And to find out, like, this is not a unique case is what
Sadly,
is really
no.
just stunning. Okay,
Yeah.
so there have been calls for an audit of OnePulse.
Yeah, there
is that
have.
happening?
So there's calls for a forensic audit and a regular audit. There's calls for everything right now. What we learned last week, Orange County Comptroller Phil Diamond says that is something he could do. But right now, there are no plans to do that. Some are calling on the state to forensically audit OnePulse. So far, there are no plans to do that. They don't even have the documentation yet. Again, we are watching day by day to see if anything changes here.
It's just sad because people in the future are going to look at charities and giving to charities, especially this time of year, maybe think twice when they see
Be a little hesitant.
$45 million. Where's that?
And because it's Pulse, it really feels so personal.
Yeah.
It's emotional. Everybody has an emotional tie to it.
Absolutely in this community.
Eric Sandoval, thank you
you
so much.
You got it.